was alive, she'd say, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Well, I made these on the side so that I know I have the extras."
I see. Hello, friends. It's me, host Eric, host of Talking with Fitness People, and bringer of the good news. Have you heard the good news? The good news is today's a quick Q&A live stream, as I'm killing about half an hour here to 40 minutes of time before returning my mother to my childhood home in Arcadia, having completed my caregiving duties for the day. So we'll see how patient Mom is. Mom, are you having a pleasant day today?
Yeah, I had
a pleasant day, yeah.
Well, except I did not like that over there, the thing, trying to get it out of the stuff.
Oh, you didn't like the part where we went over there to the thing to try to get out the stuff? Okay. Well, I'll keep that in mind, and next time we won't do that. We do have to go back to the pharmacy on the way to take you home, but that's not for a little while. So thank you, one person who's here and likes the fact that they're here. I appreciate that. You're a special lady. It doesn't matter what your gender is. You're a special lady.
Don't you understand the names of things?
Don't I understand the names of things? Sometimes I do. And a lot of times I don't. And then, a lot of times I wonder, do I or not? It's hard to say. Anyhow, I'm not sure what the topic is here exactly. I found myself poking around the internet and feeling bored. So I showed up here hoping that God would show up and bless me with his presence. Thank you, God. I appreciate your showing up. He was here for a second. Now he's gone. Oh, Pastor Personality's here. Hello there, Pastor Personality.
Oh, I'm going to look at it again because I just heard
Okay,
it.
you go look real quick. That's just Kimberly. And come back in here when you're done looking at it, okay?
Okay, yeah, I will. The problem is when I read...
You just missed God, Pastor Personality.
Well...
You were such bad timing. He was just here before. Oh, he's here again. Wow. I was wrong. You didn't miss him. So, this is a spiritual themed Q&A. If you have any questions for me, for a pastor, or for God himself, please feel free to type them into the chat. Any of the three of us is able and willing to answer those questions. You are all personality types and none, God.
Oh, that is
Concurrently.
surprisingly nice there. They got some heart that they started it with, and they brought flour in.
Your son, though, Jesus, he was an ENTP. Until he died, then he became like God again.
Yeah. And what they did here, so I think they do it each time they hear it. There was more in the middle, and there
was more in the middle. The thing to remember is, God loves humans because he gave his only begotten son and made him an ENTP. If he hadn't really loved humanity, he wouldn't have made him an ENTP. He would have made him like an ISFJ or something.
They got into the thing with
or ESTP.
And so they've been doing that.
I mean, you wouldn't have wanted that. You wouldn't have wanted ESTP. How's the typing business going? It's going okay. It's been a little bit of a lull the last few days, but prior to that, I had a good number of typings. I've had entirely fully satisfied clients except for one person who I didn't actually type, and they were unsatisfied because I didn't do a good job of communication and stuff, and so I had to refund them. But that's the only time that I've had an unsatisfied client. Everybody else seems very satisfied, and I hope to get more people to type them, and I feel like I'm learning a lot about cognitive functions and typology in the process of typing people. I had yesterday in the live stream, Tyler Peterson suggested a really good notion. He didn't really suggest it as a test, but he
you can come on in. It doesn't bother us as much as you want.
He said, your NI-DOM friend is the person who summarizes a movie in 3 sentences. So I thought, that's a good test question for NI, maybe, is if I say, summarize a movie in 3 sentences, like a movie for example, Jurassic Park, you can summarize that in no compound sentences. So you can summarize that as scientists reinvent dinosaurs
Wonderful.
for an amusement
When
park.
I get out and
Sentence
do
2
all
would
kinds of
be
things, you'll get something.
dinosaurs break loose and wreak havoc, or wreaking havoc. Dinosaurs break loose, wreaking havoc. And then the third sentence is the day is saved when the dinosaurs are all killed. So that's Jurassic Park in 3 sentences. It seems like a potentially promising test, because I think if you give somebody who, Kimberly, you think of a movie that you know well.
I don't remember.
What's a movie you know well?
Movie I know well?
Yeah.
Well, this always happens.
Prince.
So Purple Rain.
Yeah.
Okay, can you summarize Purple Rain in 3 sentences?
Yeah.
Did you hear my Jurassic Park example?
Mm-mm.
The example for Jurassic Park is
Creative.
No, listen. The
What
example
is-
for
what
Jurassic
is
Park.
that? I've never heard
Okay,
that.
Mom, listen.
Jurassic Park.
The example for Jurassic Park is scientists reinvent dinosaurs for an amusement park. Dinosaurs break loose, wreaking havoc, and the day is finally saved when all the dinosaurs are killed. That's 3-sentence summary of Jurassic Park. Can you do that for Prince's Purple Rain?
Oh.
And if any of the 4 people watching want to take a stab at summarizing Prince's immortal classic Purple Rain, please do so in the chat. We'd all enjoy that. And then I'll answer God's question about Jordan Peterson.
No, I don't want to answer.
You can't do that?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
It's hard
What
with
do
all
I
this
think
stuff
about
up
Jordan
there.
Peterson? I think he's like a beta version of what the world needs. He's a beta version because he's just he's stuck within his own frame and doesn't recognize it as such, and is not doing the right kind of metacognition to understand what it means to be truly meta-rational. He's presuming the primacy of his frame too much, and it causes him to actually potentially be harmful because he's giving people advice that only applies to some people or is only a good idea for some people. And this whole be more TE as the solution to life shit is just garbage. Is Jordan Peterson an ENTP? I don't think so.
Oh,
I've
it's
said
something
before,
they
I
need.
think he's an ENTJ. He might be. The other thing I thought too, though, and this is weird to think these 2 possibilities, the other thing I thought he might possibly be is an INFJ. There's definitely a lot of NI in there, but I would say it's tool function NI more than dominant function NI. I bet if I asked Jordan Peterson to summarize Jurassic Park, he'd say, "This is important. A lot of humanity's most important archetypes are contained within Jurassic Park." Well, there's something kind of weird that would almost explain that you could almost imagine INFJ because of his weird fixation for TE without any actual TE present per se.
Oh.
Yeah, well, of course he does. That's part of his fucking problem. He have no meta frame for understanding what counts as objective or worthwhile intellectually. He just thinks, well, it's all empirics. I'm going to just reduce everything down to empirics. And if it's not empirics, then it's nothing. He's ignoring the fact that all good ideas that are tested empirically are intuitively generated first. And that's reality. He's ignoring the fact that the big 5, well, it might be more empirically valid in the sense that the numbers are reliably doing what they're doing. The problem is the numbers aren't doing anything. It says, here's a test you can take, the score of which correlates to various things fairly reliably. What is the test? We don't know. Doesn't matter. What's average? Well, we have to keep raising that and keep adjusting it because we're not measuring something implicit in human beings at all. We're measuring some other quality that we're not even sure what the fuck it is, comprising multiple different kinds of reasoning. So, the IQ test is worthless. Big Five is the same thing as the IQ test. It's simply a descriptive data thing. It had nothing to do with explaining why or how people are the way they are. It just says we can describe people reliably along these attributes in the sense that we can see correlates that, I don't know. I mean, the thing is, they're all definition dependent anyway. But unlike a mechanical model, it's arbitrarily definition dependent. There's not really any reason to prefer those definitions over any others. Like an IQ, there's not any particular reason to test those things other than some other things, right? So they're meaningless. They're what I call absolutely relative. So, like, logical stuff is relatively absolute. It's absolutely true relative to the truth of the premises and assumptions and stuff like that. If X then Y and X therefore Y is deductively true, absolutely, no matter what you put into X and Y, even if they're totally false statements, because it's valid still. Because it's deductively true because it's conditional. If the premises are true, then the conclusion is true. That statement is true independent of the truth of the premises. So, anything that just wants to do that wants to gain traction in the land of empirics while losing traction in the land of meaning, in my mind, is putting the cart before the horse. It's like the whole purpose of anything that's descriptive ultimately is to explain shit. The Big Five doesn't explain shit, and it basically imposes certain cognitive function biases as virtues or vices. When it talks about conscientiousness and presents it basically as a virtue that people have enough of or not enough of. That's how JP presents it as well. There's no acknowledgement that the person who came up with that particular descriptor and the way it plays out as a normative thing rather than it's the same thing with IQ. IQ and Big Five play out normatively. Like it's better to be higher number in IQ, and it's better to have more conscientiousness, right? It's better to have more openness. Those fucking normatives are just imposing upon other people and causing them to internalize a lot of times false narratives about what comprises a legitimate attentional bias. There's no reason to prefer conscientiousness over some other approach to things. A certain amount of conscientiousness is necessary, and a certain amount of openness is necessary, and a certain amount of agreeableness is necessary. Is neuroticism necessary? I mean, that's what makes it. It's just with this normative quality to it. It's bullshit. Whereas with cognitive functions, it destroys that tendency because it forces the person who's playing the role of objective independent psychologist to acknowledge that they're expressing their own function biases as well. So this sort of approach, the reason I'm the antithesis of DSP is because this sort of approach is a TI framed approach. Unfortunately for everybody else, in this instance, it's appropriate to use this bias. Why? Because we're talking about things that get validated by a conditional logic. So obviously TI is going to win. When Jordan Peterson tries to tie his science horse to empirics like that, he's giving up any purpose. There's no reason to even engage in that because it doesn't tell us anything meaningful. Whereas what I'm doing is explaining shit meaningfully. I can answer those questions. I can answer all these questions. I can address the metaframe. I've presented it explicitly. And he's just flailing around in fucking unawares town. What do I think about the Enneagram? I think it's the other part of explanation that's necessary to fully explain human manifestation of self through time, basically, which is to say you need to understand the functions as attentional manners and the configuration as a set pattern of a finite distinct number of patterns of attentional manners that expresses in the ways that types we normally do think of them expressing, right? But that doesn't sufficiently explain everything. Why is it that some people are like, some ESTPs are super mad like Taylor and like ready to throw down at all times, and then Some ESTPs are super chill, like with sauce. Well, Enneagram explains that stuff. Like I think Enneagram changes too over time. Like I still believe I'm a 7. I like to play first, and that's it. I always will. And Becky's a 7 as well, and she calls herself a 6-wing 7. She's totally a 7. She's just like me. She wants to play all the time. I think the reason why Becky and I are so much alike is that we are not only the same type, we are also the same Enneagram, although she doesn't necessarily agree with that. But I think that accounts for most of the apparent subtypes things in the world. There's a lot of things in the world that might make you think, subtypes make sense. Like, why am I so much more like Becky as an ENTP than some other ENTPs? Well, the answer is probably just as simple as, well, there are Enneagrams as well. Enneagram talks about how you interface with the basic 3 negative emotions of human life: fear, anger, and shame. And so it's kind of like explains how, well, okay, I mean, you could say fear is a failure of reality to be expectable in the ways normally expected. That is to say, you're under genuine threat of some sort. Anger is a reaction against reality not conforming with expectations. And shame is the expectations of other people unmet. So it really all links back to the prime directive of conforming expectations to reality. And there's 3 emotional responses to different kinds of disconfirmations of expectations in reality, and those represent the 3 Enneagram things, I think. So yeah, passive personality, a lot of those passive personality, let me read this out loud, says, I'm 3-wing 4, not an 8 like other ENTJs, explains a lot to me. Well, what that explains a lot to me is how much non-cognitive function stuff gets into the type descriptions. Because it's probably true that ENTPs correlate more with type 7 than with other type of Enneagrams. But that doesn't mean we're all type 7s. And if you paint a ENTP type description as being the description of type 7, then you're going to be misleading a lot of people. You know, there's so much stuff in ENTP type descriptions. It's all about, like, you know, shit that's not cognitive functions. I don't know. Would you be able to give an example of all 8 tool functions in action? Okay. Thank you, Awkward INFP. I appreciate your comments and stuff. I don't know why they keep going to held for review. But if you're wondering why they don't show up, I don't know. For some reason, your comments keep going to held for review. Next time I see it, I'll just whitelist you. Would you be able to give an example of all 8 tool functions in action, possibly different types in the same situation? Maybe they're trying to make someone like happy by the tool. Okay, that's an interesting challenge. Well, let's see. I mean, TI tool is pretty straightforward. That's just checking for consistency, self and others. Whether or not you say it out loud is another question. So if I go, I was going to the store on Wednesday, I think. Actually, it was Wednesday. Then that's TI. That's like TI tool. That's when you're checking yourself all the time as you're going along. It's just a basic tool function, but it might also be dominant. Now, any tool looks like tending to be negationary all the time if it's with TI. If it's with TI, then it's going to be negationary all the time. It's going to be like the INTP who's going around and saying, here's a reason why your thing's wrong, actually. I thought of it. I came up with it. And it's also sort of demonstrative NI then at that point. Now, any tool with FI is,
Well, if you guys looked out there with that one, that black thing.
Why don't you
down
go
there,
check?
It is wonderful.
It is. You're right. Okay.
But I knew that wasn't ever done before, except when some people do it.
Like, okay, so it's a hard question to answer. I'm not really prepared to answer this whole question, but NI tool it looks like either ENTJs, the way that they come in and give like a couple of solid pieces of advice that are particularly meaningful and impactful potentially, as opposed to blather around with a bunch of demonstrative TE like I do. You know, if you have NI tool, you clap shit down in that fashion. ENFJ's NI tool will be used to hone in on what it is you're proudest of and praise you about that. And then like ISFJ FE tool will give you a card on your birthday and all that kind of shit. Remember your, like Kimberly is wringing her hands a lot about whether I go to this funeral for my friend's woman's dad on it was supposed to be today. I thought it was tomorrow and I got confused, whatever. I didn't end up going. We're definitely sending a card. You can be sure of that. It's like, I wouldn't even think that would be anything I'd consider going to. My friend, my oldest friend, Dave, his woman's dad.
I have to go to the bathroom.
All right, you go ahead and go, Mom.
Yeah.
You know where it is?
At least I tell the truth.
I'm glad you tell the truth, Mom. You always have. You're a wonderful woman. So I'm glad my videos helped you more than JP's guide. I appreciate that. Thank you for saying so. A lot of people tell me JP's videos saved their life or whatever, and more power to them too, I guess. Would you be able to give an example? I ever tried that. That's hard. It's not like you're trying to make something happen. You deal with everything in life by your tool function. So no matter what I'm encountering, I'm listening for consistency all the time. If somebody's telling me something, I'm listening to their words, understanding them and processing them, what they mean, and behaving, going forward accordingly. If I'm seeing something I don't like that's not words, I'm thinking what words to say about it and checking them to see if they're the right words. Is there a correlation between TE and discipline or SI and discipline? See, this is the thing. Discipline is a fucking weird word. May I suggest watching my temporal bargaining video, which is not actually called temporal bargaining, so that's unfortunate. I got to figure out which one it is. But look, Kimberly is not disciplined. Kimberly is neurotic. She's neurotic about following through on things because she remembers what the idea was. She doesn't come up with new ideas. So as a consequence, she just follows through on the ideas she already had planned. So is she disciplined because she's always, cleaning the house and doing shit that we say we're going to do and stuff like that? No, she's not disciplined. She's ignoring SE. She does it automatically without really thinking about it, just like I do NI automatically without really thinking about it. It doesn't drive her worldview or anything because she's so busy keeping track of everything all the time, and she just sort of follows through on autopilot. And as far as TE, there's like INTJs don't necessarily get a lot of shit done, although they often do, because they're SE in the fourth slot. So they're seeking somebody else to help them with that. Mom or Kim?
It's me. I gotta start getting ready.
Okay, my mom wanted to go to the bathroom, she said.
No, she didn't want to go to the bathroom. She just came in to tell me that she needs to go.
Okay, well, Mom, do you need to go to the restroom? Did you say you need to go to the bathroom?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it is almost 3:30. I think I'm gonna have to wrap this thing
there's
up.
nothing else to do.
That's why I said quick Q&A, and Mom, we're killing time. Basically, is what we're doing. This is a pretty important thing to do. So, but yeah, I got about 7 minutes left, anyways. I'll try to hang on for the next 7 minutes, which is what my plan was. Then I gotta go take my mom. If JP is an INFJ, then I am 12-year-old female ISFP.
My mother's dead.
Okay, well, I think he's an ENTJ. Is what I've always said. Is I think he's an ENTJ. But I just had this sort of weird.
Yes, you can.
Well, my NE may have ran away with me there a little
You're
for a
really
second,
small.
but I agree. He's almost for sure an ENTJ. He's not an INFJ. His FE is not good like INFJ FE is good. His FE is good like a TE DOM's FE can be good. It's so
Or will you go down and pick something from one of the others?
it's instrumental,
Always.
Tool function NE with FI lead doubting the subject's authenticity. Possibly. I have trouble with that one there. My supervisor type. It's asking me to say how my type is used with my polar, and it confuses me. I can do a better job with ENFPs because as
Fires
any
you out,
DOMs, we
too.
can both be in the
All of
same
us.
realm without including our tool functions at times. And then you get a real sense of where the difference is. But with INFPs, I just feel like
At least now I've got that one thing.
I better not
figured
comment on
out.
them or I'll get in trouble. I just don't know. I can't explain it really. Which type do you think is the easiest to type? Which type can you spot from a mile away?
Probably subtrade.
Easiest to type?
ESTPs are easy to type.
ESFPs.
And ENFPs.
ESFPs are easy to type. They're usually
Causing havoc somewhere.
yeah, people do get annoyed when they're not able to use their tool function effectively. So when Kimberly and I fight, it's because I'm trying to TI and she's being anti-TI obstructionist and she's effing instead as a way of obstructing TI. And that makes me furious. It's like, answer my questions, or else I'll.
I've tried that on tons of people and it never works.
Doesn't?
That's right. It's true.
Well, I never learn. I keep trying it over and over again.
What is this going to happen?
Also, where's Red? Red is, I think, in the front right now, pecking at my compost pile with Maudie. They were there last I saw them anyway. I'm glad to see Geo Niggy Yugi is here. Now, Geo Niggy Yugi, I gotta warn you, this is a short-lived live stream. I'm just wrapping up here, so you're not gonna be here for long.
There was
But
one if I go up that back. It's the ones around closest.
is this on or not?
Yeah, that
Is this plugged in?
Okay.
Oh, it is plugged in. Okay, there we go.
You guys have been very nice.
I know, Mom. We're wrapping it up. Jesus, you're in a hurry to go. What's the difference between TE and SE? Both seem to be about getting things done. I'm not sure how to differentiate them. TE is thinking through how to get something done. Like, for example, if I were to say to you, build me a boat, and you were to come up with a set of ordinal steps for me to follow in order to build it, that would require you to use TE. If I were to actually follow those steps and build the boat, that requires me to use SE.
You can just tell him I went in.
What is up with DSP and Punnett squares? Double masculine? That stuff's all garbage. I have no idea why he's into that stuff. Just let her go. She's fine. You bought my first California legal weed today and thought of you. Oh, I'm so glad to hear it, Joey Jojo Shabadoo. That is flattering indeed. Someday, I dream of a day when on the weed shelf, I go to the weed store, and next to Snoop Dogg OG, there's Host Eric, whatever. Host Eric Dankness. The dankest of the dank. I named my big plant that I got last couple of years ago that I named it Talking with Famous People. It was a strain.
Marijuana.
Well, sure she is. She's helping support California's marijuana industry. It's important.
Oh, then we should have some fun when she comes over.
I know it is such a full service experience, right? It depends which weed shop you go to, of course. But they're all gonna be like super nice. The bud tenders are super nice, and they're usually practically naked. And how do you know if someone is using SI when they're speaking? Well, you look for them to reference examples from their past to establish what they mean. Like, girls love ice cream. I mean, I was with Jody the other day and Julie and Mary, and all three of them had triple scoops of ice cream while we were at the ice cream store. Meanwhile, I, a male, had an only single scoop. That's a good question, Mr. Nice Guy. All right, yeah, I know. All right, here you go. Do we use the same cognitive function as our dream self? Huh. I mean, it's always feels to be me in the dream when I'm being me, I guess. I don't know. Never thought about it before. Is a very interesting question. I never thought of myself even having a dream self before. I don't know. I have no idea. I have to think about it more. Which is most likely upset an object they love breaking? Yeah, it's ISFJ probably, or ISTJ. It's one of those two for sure. Kimberly gets very upset about things like that. She has to go through this process of separation before she. I think we dream with fourth, Sinjin. I think we dream with fourth. So many of my dreams. I think fourth is overrepresented in our dreams because so many of my dreams are set in my grandmother's house when I was a kid, for some reason. All right, I gotta wrap this up. I gotta go get some amphetamines and try to do a less embarrassingly bad job on Sinjin's verbal memory test thing. Okay, I'm not gonna get an F and Sinjin get A plus. That's totally not cool. I gotta do better. So, all right, when I come back, I'm gonna try it again. I'm gonna get 500 on that fucking thing. Okay. So anyway, so fuck you, Sinjin. You think you're so good? I'm gonna do better than you. Probably not, though. I think that is a good NI test. You should, people, look at, Sinjin, maybe put that in the chat right now before I go if you have the link to it handy. But if not, then, I don't know, I'll put it in the description later or something. Okay, I'm going to go now. See you later. Thanks for watching. Pew. Pew.